Captain Jake Morrison looked out at the stars from his ship's bridge. Space around them was full of alien ships, all much bigger than the human vessels. The aliens had come to watch what humans could do with their weapons. 6 months ago, humans had joined the big group of space races called the Galactic Council. Now everyone wanted to see what Earth could bring to the table. The human fleet had 12 ships. Each ship carried something the aliens thought was funny. Railguns, big magnetic tubes that shot metal pieces very fast. The aliens looked at these weapons like old toys that children might play with. "Look at what the humans brought," said Ambassador Vexthan from his ship. He was from a race called the Zephyrians. His people had 4 arms and looked like giant insects. They want to throw rocks at their enemies. How cute. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on her command ship called the UES Liberty. She could hear the aliens talking on the radio channels. They were not trying to hide their laughter. Some aliens made clicking sounds. Others made deep rumbling noises. All of them thought humans were being silly. "Admiral," said Commander Ryan Ellis from another human ship, "the alien fleets are in position. They're all watching us now. Should we begin the demonstration?" Lisa looked at the readings on her screens. The alien ships around them had weapons that could turn entire planets into dust, plasma cannons that shot pure energy, laser beams that could cut through mountains, missile systems that could track targets across solar systems. Compared to all that, human railguns looked like slingshots. General Thokmar spoke from his Corvan warship. The Corvans were big creatures that looked like walking rocks. "Humans, we understand you are new to space war, but your metal-throwing machines cannot hurt our ships. Our shields can stop anything you shoot at us. Perhaps you should stick to peaceful trading." Captain Steve Murphy was listening to all the alien radio talk from his ship, the UES Guardian. He sent a message to Admiral Carter. "Ma'am, they're placing bets on how badly our demonstration will fail. The Altarians think our projectiles will bounce off their target asteroids." Lisa smiled a little bit. The aliens did not understand humans very well. They thought humans were weak because Earth was a young planet in space terms. They thought human technology was simple because it looked simple. What they did not know was that humans were very good at making simple things work much better than anyone expected. "All ships," Lisa said into her radio, "prepare railgun batteries for firing demonstration. Target the asteroid field at coordinates 77 Alpha." Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez was on the U.S. Valiant. She was in charge of the weapons systems. "Ma'am, all railguns are charged and ready. Projectile tubes are loaded with tungsten uranium slugs. Magnetic field generators are at full power." The target area was a group of rocks floating in space about 2,000 kilometers away. The asteroids were big enough to see but small enough that destroying them would not hurt anything important. The aliens had chosen these targets because they thought it would be safe for humans to shoot at rocks instead of real ships. Dr. Karen Lee was on the research ship, UES Discovery. She had spent years working on the Railgun project. "Admiral, all weapon systems show green across the board. Electromagnetic field alignment is perfect. We're ready to show them what human engineering can do." The alien fleets moved back to what they thought was a safe distance. Their ships had energy shields that could stop most attacks. They had armor made from materials harder than diamond. Some ships were so big, they could carry entire cities inside them. Next to all that power, the small human fleet looked like toys. Ambassador Vexthan spoke again to his fellow aliens. "Watch carefully, everyone. This will be educational. We can learn about primitive kinetic weapons before we help the humans develop real technology." Captain Pete Johnson was on the UES Sentinel. His job was to monitor all the alien communications. "Admiral, the Hegemony Fleet Commander just said our railguns look like museum pieces. The Draconian Empire representatives are taking pictures to show their children back home." Lisa felt angry, but kept her voice calm. Humans had always been looked down on by other races. When Earth first made contact with alien civilizations, everyone treated humans like children who had just learned to walk. The aliens gave humans small trading deals and basic technology. They acted like they were doing humans a big favor by letting Earth join the Galactic Council. "Commander Ellis," Lisa said, "begin the firing sequence. Show them what human determination looks like when it's backed up by human engineering." Ryan checked his targeting systems one more time. The railgun on his ship was as long as 3 football fields. It used magnetic fields stronger than anything found naturally in the galaxy. The projectiles were made from the hardest metals humans could create. When fired, they would move faster than anything the aliens had ever seen from a kinetic weapon. "Firing solution locked in," Ryan reported. "All ships report ready to fire on your command, Admiral." The alien fleets waited and watched. Some were recording the event to show their governments back home. Others were running scientific scans to study human technology. None of them expected to see anything that would change their minds about human capabilities. Chief Engineer Tony Williams was in the engine room of the Liberty. He watched the power readings as the railgun systems drew energy from the ship's fusion reactors. "Admiral, all systems are operating within normal parameters. We're ready to give them a show they'll never forget." Lisa took one last look at the alien fleet surrounding them. Soon those same aliens who were laughing at human technology would be asking how they could get railguns for their own ships. "All ships, this is Admiral Carter. You are cleared to fire when ready. Let's show the galaxy what humans can do." The first railgun fired from the UES Valiant. Amy Rodriguez watched her targeting screen as the magnetic coils activated in sequence. The tungsten uranium projectile shot out of the barrel faster than most alien sensors could track. There was no bright flash like plasma weapons made. No colorful energy beam like laser cannons, just a small piece of metal moving through space at incredible speed. The projectile hit the first asteroid in less than 3 seconds. What happened next made every alien in the watching fleets go completely silent. The rock, which was 3 kilometers wide and made of solid iron and stone, simply disappeared. It did not break apart or crack into pieces. It turned into a cloud of hot gas and tiny particles that spread out in all directions. "Impossible," whispered Science Officer Cathara from her Altarian ship. "Kinetic weapons cannot generate that much energy. The impact force would require massive amounts of power that no ship could carry." Tony Williams smiled as he read the power consumption data from his engineering station. Actually, the energy cost was 67% less than a comparable plasma cannon shot. The beauty of kinetic weapons is that you don't need to create the energy, you just need to move the projectile fast enough. The second human ship fired its railgun, then the third. Each shot completely destroyed its target asteroid. The alien fleets watched in growing amazement as rocks that would have taken multiple plasma cannon shots to break apart were erased from existence by single metal. "Projectiles." General Thokmar's voice came over the communication channel, but it was much quieter than before. "How fast are those projectiles moving? Our sensors are having trouble tracking them." Ryan Ellis checked his readouts on the UES Defiance. "Muzzle velocity is approximately 30% of light speed. That's about 90,000 kilometers per second for those keeping track at home." The alien commanders started talking among themselves in hushed tones. They had spent thousands of years developing energy weapons because everyone believed kinetic weapons were limited by physics. You could only make a projectile go so fast before the energy cost became too high. At least that was what they had always thought. Dr. Lee spoke from the Discovery. "The key is in the magnetic field design. We don't try to accelerate the projectile all at once. Instead, we use a series of electromagnetic pulses that build up speed gradually along the entire length of the barrel. It's much more efficient than traditional methods." Captain Murphy was monitoring the alien communication channels from his ship. The conversations he was hearing were very different from the laughter and jokes from just a few minutes ago. "Admiral, the Zephyrian fleet is asking for technical specifications. The Corvin military advisors are requesting permission to move closer for better sensor readings." Lisa watched the targeting display as her fleet systematically destroyed the asteroid field. Each shot hit exactly where it was aimed. Each impact released energy equal to a small nuclear weapon. The aliens had expected to see humans struggle to break apart a few rocks. Instead, they were watching a display of precision and power that challenged everything they thought they knew about space warfare. Commander Ellis fired again from the Defiance. This time the target was a larger asteroid made of dense metallic ore. The projectile punched through it like it was made of paper. The shockwave from the impact shattered 3 smaller asteroids nearby. The projectiles maintained structural integrity even at relativistic speeds, reported Chief Engineer Williams. "Our material science has come a long way since we first started building railguns. These tungsten uranium alloy slugs can handle the stress of extreme acceleration without breaking apart." Ambassador Vexthon was no longer making jokes about primitive human technology. His forearms moved nervously as he studied the sensor data from his ship. "Those are not normal kinetic weapons. The power-to-weight ratio should be impossible with magnetic acceleration systems." Amy Rodriguez prepared to fire the Valiant's second railgun. "The secret is in the capacitor design. We can store and release enormous amounts of electrical energy in very short bursts. Each shot uses the power equivalent of a small city for about 1/10 of a second. The demonstration continued as the human fleet moved on to larger targets. Asteroids the size of office buildings vanished in flashes of superheated gas. Rocky debris that had been floating in space for millions of years was turned into expanding clouds of particles and energy. Captain Johnson reported from the Sentinel. "Admiral, the alien fleets are repositioning. They're moving back to what they consider a safer distance. I think we've gotten their attention." The aliens had good reason to be concerned. Their previous estimates of human military capability had been based on the assumption that Earth's kinetic weapons were similar to what other races had tried and abandoned long ago. Those old railguns had been slow, inaccurate, and energy-intensive. What humans had built was something entirely different. Dr. Lee watched the power consumption readings with satisfaction. "We're using less energy per shot than most alien point defense systems. The economics of this technology are revolutionary. Ammunition is cheap, maintenance is minimal, and the stopping power is incredible. The last asteroid in the field was the largest one. It was almost 5 kilometers across and made of extremely dense rock and metal. The alien observers expected this target to at least survive the human attack, even if it took some damage." Ryan Ellis lined up the shot carefully from the Defiance. "Final target acquired. This one's for all the aliens who thought humans couldn't compete in space warfare." The railgun fired. The projectile covered the distance to the target in 4 seconds. When it hit, the entire asteroid simply ceased to exist. The impact released so much energy that nearby space was briefly illuminated, like a small star had appeared and disappeared. The alien fleets were completely silent now. What they had expected to be an amusing demonstration of primitive technology had turned into a shocking display of military capability that none of them could match. The humans had not just shown that their weapons worked. They had proven that human engineering could produce results that violated alien assumptions about what was possible. Science Officer Kethara spoke quietly to her ship's commander. "Sir, I recommend we request immediate technical briefings from the human fleet. This technology could change the balance of power in the entire galaxy." Admiral Carter looked at the empty space where the asteroid field had been just minutes before. 12 human ships had completely destroyed targets that would have required an entire alien battle group to eliminate. And they had done it with weapons that cost less to operate than the energy shields on most alien vessels. "All ships," Lisa said into her radio. "Excellent work. Phase 1 of the demonstration is complete. Prepare for Phase 2. Admiral Carter watched as several large objects appeared in space near the human fleet. These were old ships that various alien governments had donated for the demonstration. Each vessel was equipped with the standard defensive systems used throughout the galaxy: energy shields, armor plating, and electronic countermeasures that had protected alien fleets for thousands of years. General Thokmar's voice came over the communication channel, but the confidence was gone from his tone. "Surely the humans do not intend to use kinetic weapons against shielded targets. Energy shields are specifically designed to deflect solid projectiles." Steve Murphy was monitoring all the alien radio chatter from his position on the Guardian. The conversations he was hearing showed that the alien commanders were starting to worry. "Admiral, the hegemony fleet is moving into defensive positions. The Draconian ships have powered up their weapons systems." Lisa smiled at the alien reaction. They were beginning to understand that humans might be more dangerous than anyone had realized. "Captain Murphy, tell all alien observers that this is still just a demonstration. We have no hostile intent toward any Galactic Council members." The target ships floating in space were impressive examples of alien technology. The smallest one had been a Zephyrian cruiser, capable of carrying 500 crew members. The largest was a decommissioned Corvin dreadnought that could have destroyed entire cities with its weapon systems. All of them had shield generators that could stop anything from laser beams to plasma torpedoes. Lieutenant Colonel Beth Sanders was coordinating the targeting systems from her ship, the UES Independence. "All ships report ready for Phase 2. Target assignments have been distributed. We have clear firing solutions on all test vessels." Dr. Lee checked her instruments on the Discovery. "Admiral, I'm reading standard galactic shield configurations on all targets. Type 7 deflector arrays with backup power systems. These are the same shields that protect most military vessels in known space." The alien observers were recording everything with their most advanced sensor equipment. They wanted to understand exactly how human railguns worked and whether the weapons could penetrate modern defensive systems. Most alien military experts believed that kinetic weapons were useless against energy shields. Ambassador Vexthon spoke to his science officers. Monitor the shield interactions carefully. If human projectiles can somehow bypass deflector fields, we need to know how they do it. Amy Rodriguez prepared the Valiant's railgun for the first shot against a shielded target. Target locked. The old Altarian destroyer has full shields up and running. Their deflector field is reading at maximum strength. The physics of energy shields were well understood throughout the galaxy. They created a barrier of electromagnetic force that could deflect or absorb incoming energy attacks. Plasma bolts, laser beams, and particle weapons all had to overcome shield strength before they could damage a ship's hull. Kinetic weapons were supposed to be stopped the same way. Ryan Ellis aimed his weapons at a former hegemony battlecruiser. The shield generators on that ship could stop a small asteroid impact. They're designed to handle anything up to meteor-size objects traveling at normal space velocities. What the aliens did not understand was that human railgun projectiles were not traveling at normal velocities. They were moving at significant fractions of light speed, which put them into an entirely different category of physics. At those speeds, the rules that governed normal space combat no longer applied. Chief Engineer Williams monitored the power levels across the human fleet. All ships showing full charge on railgun capacitors. Magnetic field generators are stable. We're ready to show them what happens when unstoppable force meets supposedly immovable object. The first shot came from the Independence. Beth Sanders watched her targeting screen as the tungsten uranium projectile streaked toward the old Zephyrian cruiser. The ship's shields detected the incoming object and automatically strengthened the deflector field to maximum power. The projectile hit the energy shield and passed through it like it was not even there. The relativistic impact overwhelmed the shield generator so quickly that the defensive systems never had a chance to respond. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light and expanding debris. Science Officer Kithara stared at her readings in disbelief. The shield never registered significant drain on its power systems. The projectile just ignored the deflector field completely. The second shot came from the Valiant. Amy Rodriguez targeted the former Altarian destroyer with careful precision. The result was identical to the first test. The energy shield provided no protection at all against the high-velocity projectile. The ship was destroyed instantly. General Thokmar was studying the sensor data from his flagship. How is this possible? Those shields should stop any solid object. The electromagnetic fields are strong enough to deflect charged particles traveling at half the speed of light. Dr. Lee had the answer that the aliens were looking for. At the velocities our projectiles achieve, normal electromagnetic interactions break down. The shields can't grab onto something moving that fast. It's like trying to catch a bullet with a fishing net. One by one, the human fleet destroyed each target ship. Vessels that had once been the pride of alien navies were reduced to scrap metal and energy in seconds. The most advanced defensive systems in the galaxy provided no protection at all against human railgun technology. Captain Johnson was monitoring communications across the entire alien fleet. Admiral, we're picking up emergency transmissions. The Corvin Military Command is requesting immediate tactical analysis. The Hegemony Admiralty is calling for fleet-wide shield upgrades. The aliens were beginning to realize that their entire approach to space warfare had become obsolete overnight. For thousands of years, military strategy had been based on the balance between offensive energy weapons and defensive shield systems. Human railguns had just broken that balance completely. Commander Ellis destroyed the last target ship with a single shot from the Defiance. That's the end of Phase 2, Admiral. All target vessels have been eliminated. Total ammunition expenditure, 12 projectiles. The alien fleets around the human ships were completely silent. What they had witnessed challenged every assumption about modern space combat. Ships that should have been able to defend themselves had been destroyed as easily as the asteroids in the first demonstration. Ambassador Vexthon finally broke the silence. Human Admiral Carter, we request immediate technical discussions regarding your kinetic weapon systems. The Galactic Council needs to understand the implications of this technology. Lisa looked at the debris fields floating in space where the target ships had been. Of course, Ambassador. We're always happy to share knowledge with our allies in the Galactic Council. Perhaps now would be a good time to discuss mutual defense agreements. The aliens were no longer laughing at human technology. They were trying to figure out how quickly they could get their hands on it. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted dramatically, and everyone knew it. Within hours of the demonstration, emergency meetings were happening on every major alien homeworld. Government leaders who had barely paid attention to the small human fleet were now demanding detailed reports from their military commanders. The footage of human railguns destroying shielded warships was being analyzed by the best scientists in the Galaxy. Chancellor Vorthak of the Hegemony Council stood in his war room looking at tactical displays that showed the human weapon performance. How did our intelligence services miss this? We were told that humans had primitive kinetic weapons left over from their planetary wars. Admiral Carter received updates from Captain Johnson about the galactic response to their demonstration. Ma'am, we're detecting massive fleet movements across known space. The Hegemony is repositioning 3 entire battle groups. The Zephyrian Empire has recalled their border fleets for emergency upgrades. The aliens were not just surprised by human technology, they were scared. For thousands of years, military power in the galaxy had been fairly balanced between the major races. Everyone had similar weapons and similar defenses. Human railguns had just made all those careful balances meaningless. Dr. Lee found herself overwhelmed with communication requests from alien scientists. Admiral, I've received formal research proposals from 17 different species. The Altarians want to establish a joint weapons laboratory. The Draconians are offering to trade their best armor technology for our electromagnetic designs. What frightened the aliens most was not just that human weapons were effective. It was that they were so simple and cheap to build. Energy weapons required rare materials found only on certain planets. Plasma cannons needed exotic crystals to focus their beams. Laser systems required complex mirror arrays and cooling systems that cost fortunes to maintain. Human railguns were built from common metals and basic electromagnetic principles that any industrial civilization could understand. The implications were terrifying. For alien governments that had spent centuries building their military power around expensive and complicated weapon systems, General Thokmar was in an emergency conference with the other Corvan military leaders. If humans can build these weapons easily, then any minor race in the galaxy could potentially do the same. Our technological advantages could disappear overnight. Steve Murphy monitored the alien communication networks from his station on the Guardian. Admiral, the Galactic Stock Exchange has suspended trading in military technology companies. Shares in shield generator manufacturers have dropped by 80%. The economic implications were as serious as the military ones. Entire industries built around traditional space warfare technology were suddenly facing obsolescence. Companies that made energy weapons were scrambling to understand human electromagnetic principles. Shipyards were getting requests to redesign vessels around kinetic weapon systems. Ambassador Vexthon was in direct communication with the Zephyrian government. Our military advisors believe that current fleet designs are completely vulnerable to human-style weapons. We need to begin immediate research into kinetic defense systems. The problem was that there were no effective defenses against relativistic kinetic weapons. Energy shields worked by deflecting or absorbing incoming attacks. But projectiles moving at 30% of light speed carried too much momentum for any known shield technology to stop. The only defense was not to get hit in the first place. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez was fielding technical questions from alien weapons experts. They keep asking about our targeting systems. They can't believe we can hit moving targets at these ranges with unguided projectiles. The accuracy of human railguns was another shock for alien observers. Most kinetic weapons were notoriously difficult to aim at long range because the projectiles were affected by gravity and electromagnetic fields during their flight. Human railguns fired their projectiles so fast that these effects became negligible. Chief Engineer Williams was explaining human engineering philosophy to a group of fascinated alien scientists. We don't try to make our weapons do everything. We make them do one thing extremely well. A railgun shoots metal very fast. That's all it does. But it does it better than anything else in the galaxy. Captain Johnson reported on the continuing galactic response. Admiral, the Draconian Empire has just announced they're suspending all military construction projects until they can evaluate human weapon technology. The Altarian Confederacy is requesting permission to send a technical delegation to Earth. The Galactic Council was facing its biggest crisis in centuries. The careful balance of power that had maintained relative peace was suddenly unstable. Human technology had the potential to make some races incredibly powerful, while leaving others completely defenseless. Emergency sessions were being called to discuss how to handle the situation. Dr. Lee was working with her research team to prepare technical briefings for alien delegations. Admiral, We need to be careful about how much information we share. If everyone gets railgun technology at the same time, we lose our strategic advantage. Lisa understood the delicate political situation. Humans had gone from being the newest and weakest members of the Galactic Council to potentially being the strongest military power in known space. That kind of sudden change could lead to wars if it was not handled carefully. Commander Ellis was analyzing the alien fleet movements around human space. "Ma'am, it looks like everyone is trying to position themselves for whatever comes next. Some fleets are moving closer to Earth, probably hoping to negotiate technology transfers. Others are pulling back to defensive positions." The hegemony leadership was having heated debates about how to respond to the human demonstration. Some wanted to demand immediate access to railgun technology as a condition of continued Galactic Council membership. Others preferred to try diplomatic approaches that might lead to military alliances with humans. Science Officer Cathara was writing reports for the Altarian government about the implications of human weapons. The technology appears to be scalable. If humans can build ship-mounted railguns, they could potentially build planet-based versions capable of defending entire star systems. The aliens were right to be concerned about planetary defense implications. Human engineers were already designing larger railgun installations that could protect Earth from any conceivable attack. The same technology that had destroyed test ships could be scaled up to eliminate entire invasion fleets. Amy Rodriguez received a priority message from Galactic Council headquarters. "Admiral, we're being invited to present our technology at an emergency session of the full council. Every major race wants to hear what humans have to say about the future of galactic defense." Lisa looked at the strategic situation displays showing alien fleet positions throughout known space. The galaxy was holding its breath, waiting to see what humans would do with their newfound military power. The next few decisions would determine whether the human demonstration led to a new era of peace or the beginning of the largest war in galactic history. 3 weeks after the demonstration, Captain Morrison found himself leading the first joint military exercise between humans and aliens. The same species that had laughed at human technology were now competing for opportunities to learn from Earth's engineers. The galaxy had changed completely. The exercise was taking place in the Vega system, chosen because it was far from any inhabited worlds. Human ships flew alongside alien vessels that had been retrofitted with experimental railgun systems. The cooperation between different species was unprecedented in galactic history. Commander Ellis watched. Zephyrian engineers working frantically to install human-designed electromagnetic coils on their cruisers. "The irony is beautiful, Admiral. They spent 10,000 years perfecting energy weapons, but they never bothered to master the basics of electromagnetic acceleration." The Galactic Council had not only accepted humans as equal members but had also established Earth as the center of military research and development. The Sol system was now protected by the largest combined fleet in galactic history, with ships from dozens of different races working together under human command. Dr. Lee had established the Institute for Advanced Kinetic Warfare on Luna. The research facility was a joint project between human scientists and the best minds from across the galaxy. "We're developing second-generation railgun technology that makes our demonstration weapons look like toys. The aliens are calling it impossible physics again. The new weapons being developed could accelerate projectiles to 40% of light speed. At those velocities, the kinetic energy was enough to crack the crust of a small planet. The implications for both offensive and defensive warfare were staggering." Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez was training alien weapons officers on human targeting systems. "The key is predictive calculation algorithms. We don't aim where the target is now. We aim where it will be when our projectile reaches that location. The computers do most of the work." Admiral Carter reviewed the latest intelligence reports about galactic fleet modernization. Every major race was either building new ships designed around kinetic weapons or retrofitting existing vessels with human technology. The traditional energy-based warfare that had dominated space combat for millennia was becoming obsolete. The hegemony had been the most resistant to change, but even they had finally acknowledged the superiority of human weapons. "Admiral," reported Captain Johnson, "the hegemony Parliament has just approved funding for a complete fleet modernization program. They want to purchase railgun technology outright. The economic transformation of the galaxy was as dramatic as the military changes. Human corporations were licensing electromagnetic technology to alien manufacturers. Earth had become the most important trading partner for races that had previously considered humans to be primitive newcomers. Chief Engineer Williams was overseeing the construction of massive railgun installations in Earth orbit. These planetary defense systems can engage targets at ranges of up to 50 light minutes. Any hostile fleet would be destroyed long before it could threaten Earth. The defensive capabilities that humans were developing made invasion of the Sol system virtually impossible. The same technology that had impressed aliens during the demonstration had been scaled up to protect entire star systems. Human space was now the most secure region in the galaxy. Steve Murphy was monitoring communications from across known space. Admiral, we're receiving requests for defensive partnerships from 17 different star systems. Even races that aren't part of the Galactic Council want human protection. The political transformation was perhaps the most significant change of all. Humans had gone from being junior members of the galactic community to being the dominant military power. Other races were competing for favorable relationships with Earth, offering everything from advanced technology to exclusive trading agreements. General Thokmar had become one of the strongest advocates for human-Corvan cooperation. Our people have learned much from working with human engineers. Perhaps we were too quick to judge your capabilities based on appearances. The joint military exercises were demonstrating the effectiveness of combined human and alien forces. Ships equipped with human railguns and alien energy shields were proving to be nearly unstoppable. The cooperation between different species was creating military capabilities that none of them could achieve alone. Ambassador Fexton was now serving as the official liaison between the Zephyrian Empire and Human Military Command. The Galactic Council has voted to establish Admiral Carter as Supreme Commander of Allied Defense Forces. This is the first time in galactic history that one species has been given such authority. Lisa found herself in command of the largest military force ever assembled in known space. Ships from 43 different races were under her authority, all equipped with some version of human railgun technology. The responsibility was enormous, but so was the opportunity to bring lasting peace to the galaxy. Dr. Lee was working on theoretical weapons that could reshape the strategic balance even further. We're investigating the possibility of guided kinetic projectiles that can adjust their course during flight. If we can combine railgun velocity with missile accuracy, nothing in the galaxy will be able to stop our weapons. The research being conducted at the Luna facility was producing advances that amazed even human scientists. Working with alien materials and power systems, the joint research teams were developing weapons and defenses that exceeded anything previously thought possible. Captain Johnson reported on the continuing changes throughout galactic civilization. Admiral, the Draconian Empire has just announced they're converting their entire industrial base to produce kinetic weapons. The Altarians are building new shipyards specifically designed for railgun-equipped vessels. The transformation was not just military and economic. Cultural changes were happening as well. Human engineering philosophy, with its emphasis on making simple concepts work extremely well, was being adopted by alien civilizations that had previously focused on complexity and exotic technologies. Amy Rodriguez was leading a team of human and alien engineers in developing new ship designs optimized for kinetic warfare. We're creating vessels that are basically flying railgun platforms. The entire ship is designed around the weapon system instead of the other way around. The new ship designs were revolutionary. Instead of trying to mount railguns on existing vessel types, the engineers were creating completely new classes of warships, built specifically for kinetic weapons. These ships were faster, more accurate, and more devastating than anything previously seen in space combat. Commander Ellis looked at the tactical displays showing the current positions of Allied fleets throughout the galaxy. Admiral, we've achieved something that no one thought was possible. For the first time in recorded history, the major powers are all working together instead of against each other. The unity that human technology had created was unprecedented. Races that had been enemies for centuries were now cooperating on joint military projects. The threat of human railguns had forced everyone to choose between working together or being left behind by military technology they could not match. Lisa stood on the bridge of the Liberty, looking out at the combined fleet that represented the new galactic order. Human ships flew alongside alien vessels in formations that would have been impossible just months earlier. The galaxy had learned not to underestimate the species that turned simple concepts into devastating weapons. The future looked brighter than anyone had dared to hope. With human railgun technology providing security and alien resources providing opportunities, the galaxy was entering an era of cooperation and prosperity that could last for thousands of years.